Hi folks, let's talk about Johnny 5. So we dusted him back off about 2 months ago after having spent 3 or 4 years doing really a tremendous amount of work. Parts we made here, employees, interns, as well as you guys. The internet, the instant machining community has made a ton of parts for this build, and we are very grateful for that. In fact, I just saw the corner of my camera lens. You know, this is a part made by Kern, by the CEO Kern for his tool arm. And there's countless other examples to see on this, which is absolutely awesome. When I dusted him back off 2 months ago, I was very curious to see how the next few months would go, and they have gone great. I want to show you guys some of the parts that we've been working on and talk about the head, the neck, the eyes, next steps. And we got a phone call, and we'll see where this goes, but somebody would like to have him in Illinois in September. I'll let you guys fill in the blanks if you think you can infer what that means. Don't know if it's going to happen yet. And that did two things. Number one, that's a deadline because it's not that much time. I'm taking some vacation, and he would have to leave a week or two earlier for the trip there. So it's really not a ton of time. The second thing is, this kind of caught me off guard, but we have a big problem. A lot of the parts that we have made and other folks have made that are already built, like parts like this here and that here, and parts like the printed head, a lot of this is either an unknown filament or most likely PLA, almost certainly PLA. And PLA stinks at heat resistance. I actually learned this the hard way myself. Printed my wife some sunglass visor clips, and we were hanging a pair of sunglasses in her sun visor, and that PLA just in the car parked in the parking lot, it just completely sags down. And that's not a dissimilar environment from what J5 may be in a crate in the back of an LTL truck traveling across the Midwest in the soaring heat of August and sitting in a parking lot for hours on end for whatever reason. So I've started to print some parts out of PETG, which is marginally better, not great, and ASA, which is really a lot better. Also been thinking about whether or not it would be worth trying to build some sort of a actual active cooling system. A lot of complications behind that with freight. But anyway, that's not really the point now. I think I'll be okay on it. But it is a good pause for concern, and it's probably a good way of sort of taking a little pause to think about just how daunting this undertaking is. You know, I mean, frankly, we had a huge head start. If you think about the fact that we're starting from this level of the build versus starting from scratch, it is absolutely awesome. But boy, there is a ton of work to do and a ton of parts to make. I've been really inspired by a gentleman named Sean. I'll show you some of his footage here in a second. He's got a really awesome build going on. And I've gotten to know some of the other folks on the Input Inc. team, and I owe them a big thank you and a big shout out. So they're the genesis of all this. We started this idea, me and Ed, 6-7 years ago, just thinking we're going to build a J5. And this, luckily we never had to go down this path, but the thought was just going to be, we're going to mock up what would have been a pretty crappy rendition of J5, but just kind of a crude exoskeleton version of him. And frankly, it would have been awesome and I would have been proud, except this thing that the Input Inc. team has done is just mind-blowing. They had access to one of the movie props 20 years ago, and the CAD model that they've come up with, not only is it insane and just phenomenal and awesome, but everything works. So where I'm at right now, I spent a lot of time on the head. Doesn't look great right now. Sorry for disassembling you, bud. But I've been building these let's see here. This is the gimbal, and then it's all on an iPop mechanism. So this one's almost done. This one is sort of done, except I have sorry, it's not in there great right now. The blue thing is a temporary lens because thanks to Terry, we have a set of the real lenses. These are discontinued, kind of unobtainium. I've got to drill and tap a few 256 holes, and I think turn something down by like 7 thou. Frankly, it's not a big deal. It's just, I don't want to do that just yet, and I'm going to try to show you guys. If you remember in the movie, when J5 gets excited, his eyes will pop out, and that will now happen. I've got some 3D printed tracks now. I think we're going to find some of the metal versions as well, and a 6-pitch lead screw that will mount to a stepper right here. I'll splice in some B-roll of the actual CAD model to see this, but oops, my eye decided to come out here. So basically this will be able to come all the way out and move back in. I think a hobby servo there stopped me, which is like just so cool to see that. Even better, we have this whole assembly, and it uses 2 hobby servos to control an XY pattern on this gimbal, and it articulates inside this on 2. This is one ring, the other ring is part of the camera lens itself. So you'll have full eyeball articulation, and it will also open and close the iris on the shutter lens with a pin that clips into it here. Open and close those, which is pretty stinking cool. Now I'm not sure I'm going to get every single one of these things done for August, September, but I hope so, because we're pretty close on some of this stuff. And I also finished both sets of these, and I hooked the hobby servo up, which means I can't actually actuate them now, but I'll splice in some phone footage of showing these eye vents open and close, as well as the cab model. It's just so cool, folks. Like, it just gets me so fired up. And if you're sitting here wondering, okay, but then how do you control all that stuff? Great question. That's kind of next on my to-do list, to sort of look at who's got some of the electronics platforms started and built out to control. You've got servos here for the eyelids, so I've been working on those as well here. So these will control the upper and lower eyelids with either 2 or 4 servos to give you that full articulation. And then the eye pop in and out, again, that'll kind of go in and out like this, which is pretty cool. And the outside flaps as well. The other focus area has been the neck. So the neck has these iconic cylinders that mount, got the platform off right here, but kind of like right here, and they control his whole head rotation and motion. And you know, for those of us that watched that movie growing up in the late 80s or early 90s, I think it was that humanizing element of Johnny Five that was just so mesmerizing, more so than some of the other robot, you know, figures and things. Even like, I don't know, something about like C-3PO and R2, which are phenomenal. There's just something about Johnny Five that really connected. So I really want to get this done well and done right. And again, the Texas build is just absolutely awesome. And it's also a great way of showing how this whole hydraulic mechanism works. So you've got the 2 cylinders here that are actually on the neck, and then you have this whole sub-assembly, which I've started right here, that uses 2 of these motors that themselves are hooked into pistons that control this closed-loop hydraulic system and causes that motion action to happen of the neck. So when you combine that with the head and eyeball motion and the lip lights, so that's kind of what he does to talk, we've got the stencils made. So these stencils here, again, this is a great example of what's been awesome to be part of that Input Inc. group, because they have done batch runs of things like these, and these will go inside. Actually, may not have it here on my desk. Oh no, it's right underneath here. Those stencils will fit in here for the lip lights and give Johnny Five some of that sort of audio animation. I mentioned this in the last video update that we did, but it's really cool just to see as a little snapshot in US manufacturing where things are today versus 5 years ago. You know, this group has got active, they're on Patreon, Facebook, Discord. They're doing part runs from Send Cut Send. They're doing batch machining orders. They're ordering for everybody that wants them, and I think they're trying to order some extras so that future build can also buy kind of out of that stockpile. Because as anybody who knows who's made stuff, it makes a lot more sense to make extras when you're setting them up versus to do one-off runs. But even just 3D printing, the bamboos have been awesome, and through TPU in here this is the neck cylinder that kind of goes right here. It's a little, I forget whether this one is either expensive, hard to find, or you just have to buy like 30 feet of it. So I'm fine with TPU here, and it's got that compressionness to it. Just awesome. And got some cool swag. Take a look. Who remembers that sound when they stamp those out? There are some frustration parts. There are some hydraulic fittings not shown here that are discontinued. This is part of what that hydraulic assembly will look like. So we started machining, actually machined this part and that part to see if replacement could work. It will work, like we'll be able to get it work, but it's easier. There's so much work to do. It's easier to just buy stuff, get it on the shelf, get it assembled, and move forward. You stopped to analyze and make every single one of these things from scratch, this would take, I kid you not, 10, 15 years. Case in point too, we printed one of these sets on the bamboo, and the other is, yeah, that's clearly the bamboo set, which is fine, painted it then. And then Spencer Webb printed this, appreciate that, Spencer, on his Form 4 SLA, much higher quality. And he printed it, sent it to us, and he already had iterated a better version of it. And I'm like, Spencer, the version 1 you sent me is plenty good. Like, seriously, completely good. How the support dimples look on the inside of the parts does not matter. You got to just keep moving. And this project is, a joke, death by 1,000 shipping costs. I mean, the number of individual parts from different vendors, even screws, which aren't that expensive, except you need to buy, you know, every one of these little individual things being $2 to $10 worth of various size screws. I have more of these, 256, 632, the number 10s, number 8s, etc. And this is what I did to keep organized, or else you'll go nuts. Lots of McMaster bags as well. So, you know, sometimes it's frustrating that stuff has expensive shipping. Sometimes it's even more frustrating when there's discontinued and you can't get it. So working through all of that, but I like that we have a goal. I'd love to see if we can make him appear in a public setting here in this fall. That would be super cool. My other goal, he drives right now. He will move forward with the tracks. We got a little, I think there's a little joystick hanging right here. Yeah, right here. But that requires right now a 110 power supply plugged into the wall. So goal would be to actually get him on a battery powered so that when we ship him there, we have to build a crate. We'll build a crate, and then you can actually just drive him off the crate with some included ramps. That should be a pretty slick way. And again, I'll put a card and some links into Sean, the Texas J5 builder. He actually just shipped his from Texas to San Francisco for a wedding. Pretty cool. And went along pretty well. It actually had some minor damage and lessons learned, but I want Johnny 5 to be built. I want him to work, and I want him to be used. Like I don't want him to melt if he's in a parade outside in hot heat, but I do want him, I want a kid to come up to him and just smile and love him, and if something breaks, we got to fix it. Yeah, so be it. We've had a lot of folks ask about making parts. Seriously, a heartfelt, humbling thank you. We're not against it. We just don't need anything right now. And funny enough, most of the head stuff really should be printed because you don't want the weight of machined metal, at least metal parts at the top. So I don't have anything specific right now, but it means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. And to all the folks that have made parts, seriously, thank you. And then, yeah, I was going to give a shout out again. The Input Ink folks asked if we'd be willing to kind of leverage our platform to give them a little shout out. And absolutely. I am awesome. It's when I look at the amount of work that went into the CAD model, it is truly mind-blowing. Like I kind of can't believe it, and appreciate all their enthusiasm and work. They've got a Facebook, they've got a Patreon. If you want to build one, that's definitely the way to go. If you just want to support them and their project, I think they've got much lower Patreon tiers that just kind of get you in to the community. And I hope long-term there's some more smaller, like 3D printable, or even like Short Circuit 2 when the little J5s running around the department store. That'd be kind of fun to look to. So yeah, as always, folks, appreciate the enthusiasm behind this. It's super invigorating. Oh, that's what I want to mention. Even just parts like this, we've got the UMC 350 set up now to where we're able to use what's called the container method in Fusion, drop a part in there. We've got a tool library built up, very little simulation or risk, and we can just make these parts. That is like the song of my people. Oh my God, that's just absolutely amazing. In fact, I made both of these parts in minutes. Grims and I were joking about it to make another one. I think I could probably do it under 10 minutes. It's more just knowing that you can. So if there's something you need to get made, you just drop the model in, put the tool pass on it. It's just absolutely awesome. So yeah, as always, folks, hope you enjoyed. Hope you guys enjoy following along with this build. Otherwise, take care. See you soon.